So just leaving the Honda. I've bought some more rubbish. Can't stop myself. Ah well, it's a lovely Saturday morning. Well, Saturday afternoon now, just gone 12. Time to ride home. Oops. Left my pocket open with my phone in, so let's close that before I do anything else. Okay, off we go again. Good excuse to get out today, to go down to the motorcycle shop, as it's been quite wet all week. So haven't had an awful lot of opportunity to use the bike. Not that I don't ride it in the rain, of course you do. But I suppose when you're on your way to work and it's pouring with rain before you start, it's a little bit difficult to get on the bike. There's been a lot of talk on the internet about dealers, especially in the UK it seems at the moment, closing down, bike dealers closing down or not offering the range of bikes that they used to do, and reasons for that. I suppose when I was young, 70s, late 60s, early 70s, yeah, it was seen as a cheap form of motoring, having a motorbike, and also, of course, it's a cheap way of getting more performance than you could out of a car. Also, relatively practical transportation if you didn't have a lot of money, because motorbikes were a lot cheaper than a car. And now, I mean, the club that I belong to, our membership is getting older. We've got no new young members, and the price of bikes, even used bikes, seems to be a little bit extortionate, to be honest. I mean, you know, you're going to buy a bike that's 20 or 30 years old and it's still 5 grand. I mean, that's an awful lot of money. I mean, that's not that a new bike is cheap, of course. This GS cost me 27,000 euros. So that's a lot of money to find, especially if you're young, you've got a mortgage, you've got children, and to be honest, who needs a bike in this day and age? They're really expensive toys, aren't they? And it's only as older people, perhaps, that, you know, now that the kids are grown up, left home, or mortgages are starting to get paid off, that can afford these things. So it's an expensive old hobby, motorcycling. And every new bike now has to have the latest technology, for instance cruise control, and I've come the wrong way here anyway, but it doesn't matter. So cruise control, blind spot mirrors, lead angle, ABS, traction control, quick shifter. Now we've got clutchless gear changes and all sorts of stuff. Do you know, the technology keeps on being rolled out. Yeah, I don't necessarily aspire to the fact, oh, we should all have bikes with no electrics and all that sort of thing. I don't know that that's a particularly practical point of view. I love the cruise control on this, the radar cruise control and the blind spot indicators. Yeah, I've got no problem with that. But it all adds to the price. But second-hand bikes seem to be so expensive, and of course, I mean, all these things are driven by the market. If people want to pay for it, they will pay for it, and that's fair enough. But it seems to me that there are an awful lot of bikes being advertised that are still being advertised and haven't shifted. Not likely to shift either. So I don't know where motorcycling is going. The price of insurance is going up. Of course, we're worried about what's going to be happening to petrol, because well, electric bikes certainly aren't practicable at the moment, certainly for any sort of distance riding. So where is motorcycling going? Where is motorcycling going? I have no particular answer to that. These are only just questions that I'm thinking of as I'm sort of enjoying myself on my bike. And look, I'm 68 years old. I don't know how long I'll be motorcycling still. I still feel fit, able, and as long as I do, I'm going to continue motorcycling. But where is the future of motorcycling for a younger generation? Is it going to die out? Is it something that's, well, there might, you know, there's going to be scooters and those sort of urban bikes, of course there are, but most of us, I suppose my age, we don't buy bikes because we need one, or not necessarily if we don't. Well, I don't live in an urban area, so I don't need to buy a scooter just to get through the traffic, or cheap method of going from A to B. I live in a rural area where in fact we've got very little public transport, and the only practical method of getting to and from work, especially in very inclement weather, is by some sort of motor vehicle. I choose to use a motorcycle when I can, but of course I have a car as well. Hardly bung the dog in the back of on the back of the bike, can I? And other things. So, you know, I don't have to have a bike. A bike is just a toy. I'm not sure about the purple on that BMW still. So yeah, I don't know where motorbikes are going, and motorbike manufacturers, there seems to be more manufacturers actually than there were, especially the Chinese joining the fray. I know there's a resistance to Chinese bikes, and of course from an economy point of view, it you know, if Western economies want to flourish, well, perhaps we not necessarily should be buying Chinese made goods, but on the other hand, of course, there are a lot of Chinese buying Western goods, so tit for tat probably. Although we don't seem to manufacture as much in the West as we used to. If you buy a Triumph, for instance, is it made in England? Probably not. Probably made in some plant somewhere else. I do know if you buy a BMW, except I think the 310, but otherwise BMWs are currently still made in Europe, still made in Germany, still a European bike. KTM, Austrian manufacturer. They've got some tie-up with, is it CF Moto in China? Chinese made engines. The BMW 310 GS is made in India. Anyway, that's not really the focus of what I wanted to talk about today. It was simply, are we going to be buying bikes in the future, and what sorts of bikes are we going to be buying? And on that note, and just enjoy the drive.